Game and all things social dynamics are just like chess. Discipline, correct decision making, and consequential thinking are paramount for success. But if you don't know what to do, how to do them, and what the correct decisions are to make, then the very least you can do to not stray too far from the path of success is to know and watch out for the pitfalls and mistakes that plague everyone in the game. That way, while you're figuring out the best course of action, you're not shooting yourself in the foot. In general, the less mistakes you make, the easier it is to achieve success. I've got 10 plus years of experience in all things game, social dynamics, and behavioral science, and I'm going to make you consciously aware of all the avoidable pitfalls and mistakes in the game. That way you don't have to keep getting frustrated and running around in circles, and the pleasurable, exciting, adventurous, loving, and fun dating and relationship life you actually want can truly become attainable. Please be warned, a lot of the things you will learn here are going to shatter your current view of women, reality, and dating. Game, by its very design, is counterintuitive in nature. There's a lot of things you've been taught to think are right that actually aren't. Please approach this with an open mind, the discipline to test this out for yourself, and the willingness to make adjustments based on your new findings. This will add so much more value to you in the long run if you choose to approach it that way. With that being said, it's Jason's favorite scientist, and let's begin. The first major pitfall to avoid is creepiness, specifically making her feel uneasy or uncomfortable around you. A woman's attraction for you is heavily dependent on the way she feels around you. But the things you say and do around her are what create the experience of you for her. If the things you say and do around her make her feel uneasy or uncomfortable, then she's gonna see you as a creep, and women are not attracted to creeps. There are 3 major reasons for creepiness in general, or another way to put it is that there's 3 major reasons you're giving off creepy energy. The first is the most common reason, which is neediness. There's nothing wrong with wanting a woman or women in general. That's the whole reason you're here right now. There's also nothing wrong with doing something about that want. Where it goes left is when you allow that feeling of wanting women to overwhelm you. Neediness is essentially a lack of discipline around your wants and needs. It's what naturally happens when you allow what you want to take priority over who you are. In this case, the girl. But honestly, as bad as neediness is, it's the symptoms of neediness that really get you in trouble. Don't forget what I said before. Your actions and words are what are going to determine how much attraction a woman feels for you. And when you're needy, you will subconsciously leak neediness through your words and actions. You will naturally say and do things that let the woman know that you have a strong need for her approval, which, in case it wasn't clear already, women are repulsed by. Women can only feel safe with a man that they have to seek the approval of. They want to work hard for a man's validation because it makes them feel special when they get it. You completely rob women of the chance to win you over if you're already showing signs that you need them. All of the major symptoms of neediness revolve around trying to get something out of the woman, whether it's physical, abstract, sexual, etc. In any context and for any situation, when you find yourself trying to get something out of the woman, you're more than likely being needy without realizing. And just so we're clear, it's not a bad thing to want women or want things out of them, but it is really creepy to carry that energy around with you. Here are a few tips to help you get rid of your neediness. First of all, understanding the intrinsic value you carry as a man. I'm not even talking about how cool you are, how much you've done, how much you've accomplished, none of that. I'm talking about the fact that you are a man, and that means something. You carry with you thousands of years of epigenetic programming and unique life experiences of your own. You are literally the best version of any one of your ancestors that has ever existed. And I know that because you're watching me right now. Your ancestors died so that you can be here today. Clearly, they must have thought that your life and your experiences were more valuable than theirs. You've been uniquely designed and appropriately placed. Whether you like it or not, you are one of one. You are special. And anyone that comes in contact with you has to make peace with the fact that if you leave them, they are letting go completely of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So it makes no sense to seek the approval of someone else when the only approval you need to seek is yours. Another thing you should remember is that women want you not to need them. You're doing them a massive disservice by pedestalizing them like that. They don't want to be associated with a man that constantly puts the pressure to be perfect on them. And of course they don't. No one is perfect, especially not women. And to treat a woman like you need her is to assume her perfection. Not cool. The next place creepiness comes from is a lack of social calibration. By design, women are much better than men at reading social cues. So they can always tell, and very easily too, when a man doesn't know how to handle himself in a social setting. And contrary to popular belief, every setting is a social setting. So whenever you make too many social errors in a row, you're set to be creepy. Women cannot feel safe with the man that doesn't know how to give the correct emotional response to the correct circumstance. Now, it's easy to understand that for obvious or common surface level social errors, like don't pick your nose or fart in public, or don't be unnecessarily rude to people. But there's the more subtle ones that men don't know about that women are constantly on the lookout for. The biggest one by far being your empathy and your willingness to emote. That is your ability to see things from her point of view and adjust accordingly to not make her feel uncomfortable around you. It's knowing when to change topic within a conversation to help her save face. It's knowing when to take a physical step back so she doesn't feel like you're smothering her or in her personal space. It's knowing not to take anything she says too seriously or too personal. It's making a conscious effort to make friends with her cog-blocking friend. In general, it's making all the necessary adjustments that makes it easy for her to exist around you. Now, your social calibration will get better over time the more women you talk to. That's just how it works. But a good rule of thumb to follow to make sure you're well adjusted for the women you will meet in the future is to remember that she sees you as the initial threat. Sure, you may have the best of intentions, the purest heart, and want to do everything in your power to keep her safe. But what you need to remember is that when you're first getting to know a woman, in her eyes, you are the danger. She's wary of you. If you can take that into account whenever you're about to speak to a woman for the first time, during the approach phase, the talking phase, etc., you'll find yourself naturally making the correct adjustments as you go. If you can remember consciously that she initially sees you as a threat, then you probably won't think it's a good idea to make physical contact with her, for you've established that you're not a threat to her by being friendly and playful. You probably won't think it's a good idea to make strong eye contact with her before establishing that you're not a threat to her, because you know that it might make her feel uncomfortable and uneasy that someone she doesn't know from anywhere is paying that much specialized attention to her. You also probably won't think it's a good idea to text her and call her to do massive favors for you when she doesn't quite know you like that. When in doubt, lean out. It'll never hurt your game to take a step back, figuratively and literally. Now, the last bastion of creepiness is not looking good. Hold on now. Before you drop into despair, I didn't say what you think you heard. I didn't say creepiness comes from not being good looking. I said it comes from not looking good. There's a difference. As far as women go, creepiness has a look. No surprise there. But it's not a lack of a facial symmetry or testosteronic features. It has more to do with a lack of effort. Looking like you don't put any effort into how you look and you don't care how you present yourself to the world. That's creepy. And it goes beyond your physical clothing, fashion, or style, by the way. It also has to do with how well you're treating your physical body, your temple. Not only is it completely repulsive to women when a man doesn't put any effort into himself, but it's also a massive indicator that the man is lacking a few virtues. Virtues like discipline, resilience, perseverance, patience, ambition, integrity, and even more important, standards. Women only are ever attracted to men that they have respect for. And having standards is a huge part of earning respect. If you're perfectly comfortable with looking like a slob in public, women take note of that. That is a man that is not worthy of respect. I would tell you that you have to look like you have some respect for yourself, but that would be redundant. Because if you have respect for yourself, then I don't need to tell you to treat yourself like you do. So do your absolute best to put conscious, deliberate effort into yourself. Invest in good products for your hair and skin. Work on your look, style, and aesthetic, something that actually fits you. Hit the gym, or even better, pick up a martial art. And be mindful of how you smell. Cologne is important. While you're at it, do something about your teeth. It's the first thing women notice about you. The next major pitfall in the game is one I suspect will become a major problem as the years go by, and that is a short attention span and the need to skip to the end immediately. See, the thing about game and social dynamics and talking to women in general is that it's based primarily on narratives and premises. That's just a fancy way of saying that every time you talk to a woman, there's an underlying story been written about the two of you in real time. And women especially are heavily invested in what that story is, how it goes, and where it takes them. The entire process of a woman building attraction for you is heavily dependent on the way that underlying story goes. Because in order for her to get to the point of obsession for you, she has to answer certain questions about you first. And if the underlying story doesn't answer those questions as she goes, then the story is incomplete. There are a few things that need to happen in the story of you and her for her to feel like the attraction she feels for you is warranted. Skipping any of those things will always result in some form of a calamity in the future. Whether it's her not trusting or respecting you and not even knowing why, her not feeling any attraction for you whatsoever, her changing her entire attitude around you overnight, or in the worst case scenario, her regretting having sex with you and feeling buyer's remorse. That, believe it or not, is primarily where grape charges come from. And all these can be very easily avoided if you keep something simple in mind. Do not rush the process. Allow things to develop organically. Stop trying to rush to the end game. In almost every single game situation, it is not a bad idea to take the longer route. You honestly want to be the one most times pushing back on the need for speed. The reason this might be easier said than done is because of the lack of experience and discipline around anxiety. If you find yourself being a little too impulsive around attractive women, or you find yourself crumbling in awkward situations with the women you talk to, it's because you're having a hard time dealing with the anxiety of fucking things up. You feel a weird tension whenever you talk to a woman that forces you to want to seek comfort. And it's the need to seek that comfort or approval in the middle of the anxiety that's making you make all these hasty mistakes. That's what's making you show too much interest too soon and killing the attraction before it even had a chance to begin. That's what's making you text back too quickly, even though deep down you know you should wait a little longer. That's why your timing is off and you're misfiring all your technique. Asking for a phone number before you've even built any rapport, or trying to get things sexual awkwardly, or even the subtle things like settling for her Instagram or Snapchat instead of a more solid phone number, or not having the diligence to just go on a proper date as opposed to just trying to invite her over to your place straight away. Now, the best way by far to cure this is to force yourself to act right in those anxiety-filled situations. When it comes to getting affected by anxiety and tension, the best way to cure that is exposure therapy. You get more used to tension and anxiety the more you find yourself in the middle of it. But here's a quick tip to help you along before you get to that point. If you're not too good at handling tension, then get ahead of it by creating yours first. If you're the one that creates the tension, then she has to deal with it, not you. Think of it like a psychological preemptive strike. There's many ways to induce tension in a conversation, but the best way by far is to disqualify her. The final major pitfall of the game is the fear of rejection. Mind you, not rejection itself. The fear of rejection. It's being so scared of rejection that you end up preemptively rejecting yourself. And by my estimate, this has single-handedly destroyed so many amazing opportunities for men. End of the day, as far as being a man is concerned, game is primarily psychological for us. The way you perceive women and yourself all add to your general experience in the game. But if you get into the habit of rejecting yourself before you get the chance to be rejected by someone else, that will inevitably become the new reality you get stuck in. Hesitation is by far the best way to kill any chance of success you might have. But you know that already, you're not dumb, so why do you hesitate? Some believe that it's an evolutionary quirk that's been left in us through thousands of years of epigenetic programming. The logic there is that our ancestors lived in small, close-knit tribes, so the only options they had for a mate were the women within their tribe, which is a massive advantage because of the availability and proximity, right? But it's a major disadvantage because of the risk it poses to your tribal reputation. You step up to the wrong girl that already belongs to someone in the tribe, or you step up to a girl in the tribe in the wrong way. Then on the low end, you risk getting your tribal reputation diminished and getting completely exiled from the tribe, which in those times meant certain death. Or worst case scenario, you spark a war between two factions within the tribe. Not even remotely kidding when I say this, but throughout history, a lot of wars have started because two guys wanted the same girl. No kidding. A lot of evolutionary scientists today believe that we have inherited the fear of rejection from our ancestors, which in this day and age with our current society would be completely irrational, but our reptilian brain can't tell the difference. Me personally though, I think the fear of rejection comes from a lot simpler place. I think human beings in general are designed to be scared of outcomes that they're not sure of. I mean, think about it. Fear in itself is not real. It's an illusion we create in our own minds. We feel fear because we carry no evidence of an uncertain future. So if you want to clear your mind of the fear of rejection, you need to create certainty within yourself. Here's how. One way you can do that is to think about the worst case scenario and then accept it. A part of being scared of rejection comes from not wanting to experience the pain of rejection. If you allow yourself to see the most painful possibilities there are and accept them, you're not going to be surprised when they happen, if at all they do happen. Every time you send a text to your girl, completely assume that you're not going to get one back. Whether the chances you get one back are high or not, it doesn't matter. Completely assume that is the last time you'll ever hear from this person. That way, if for whatever reason you actually don't hear from this person again, you're fine. You're not attached to it. Before you approach that girl, don't tell yourself that the worst thing she can do is say no. Tell yourself the worst thing she can do is pull out a Glock and shoot you in the face with it. That way, anything that happens, as long as it doesn't escalate to that point, is a solid win for you. You expected much worse, so it was within the scope of your realm of possibilities. The next thing you can do is understand that on a long enough time frame, rejection is not real. Because of the nature of women, how emotional they are, and generally, how temporary their decision making is. Getting rejected by a woman is just the same as getting accepted by a woman. It doesn't matter in the long run. As far as women go, all emotions are subject to change at any time. So trying to hold on to a woman's disapproval is just as bad an idea as trying to hold on to a woman's approval. I can tell you so many stories from my personal life where certain girls in my past were completely out of my reach at one point, and then fast forward a few years later, some of these women go on to become completely obsessed with me. So no woman's decision has any real weight or gravity to it. Remembering that in the moment will make the rejection sting a lot less. The final tip for getting over the fear of rejection is remembering that her life is better with you in it. Yeah, sure, she's hot, she's sexy, she's beautiful, you would love to have her on your arm. But you're still the one that holds greater value here, because you bring a lot more value to her life than she does to yours. The boundaries, leadership, protection, balance, guidance, ability to teach her new things she's never known before and share unique life experiences with her, your time, your attention, and if she earns it, even your resources. You're offering too much to be worried about her not wanting any of it. Unfortunately, you can't save every girl. A lot of them are just gonna have to know what it's like to live in a world without you. Close your eyes, bow your heads, and have a brief moment of silence for those girls. Okay, that's all the time they can get. It's from Jason, your favorite scientist. Do with this information what you must.